Um, I've been meaning to record this for a very long time. I think I drew this like, let's check the date. I drew this a month ago, and I recorded it a month ago, and I had just been postponing the inevitable, because I wanna record, but I never know what to say. So I'm just gonna jump into it after procrastinating for God knows how long. I was having like a really weird burnout with school and college and God knows what, and I thought, oh my god, you know what I miss doing? I miss doing YouTube. So I thought, let me just sit down and like generate a bunch of ideas. So I wrote down a bunch of like video ideas and stuff, and I thought, yeah, I want to do YouTube, even if it's just like in my free time. It's fun. It brought me joy. I miss editing. Oh my god, do I miss editing. That's probably the funnest part of the whole thing. So, let's just get right into it. The first thing I did was I wanted to get together a bunch of styles to sort of redraw. And since all I've done for forever is animal characters, I made this weird human that is very normal for everyone else. But she's kind of like, I called her my emo Sona. Because I had an awakening with emo music, and I thought, you know what? Emo character. Because I can't be emo in real life, but I can do it in the fictional world of whatever. So I sat down and I drew her real quick, and I put her in like a weird comic. And then I was like, you know what? She needs to be a more recurring character. So I drew her again for this little art style challenge. You can see through most of these, I kind of go through a sketch, and I have no idea what I'm doing, and half the time I don't abide by the sketch. I don't know, I just had a lot of fun drawing her. She's kind of just me projecting what I would want to do if I had full artistic freedom over my life. The next art style would be Adventure Time. I chose Adventure Time because I just really like the show. It was very wholesome. I haven't seen the ending yet, so no spoilers. I'm on season 8, I think. But I thought, you know, I've never drawn in Adventure Time art style, so why not try now? And I also tried this like brush smoothing application called like Hedge Style. But basically, Photoshop is not like Paint Tool Sai. It doesn't have like the little smoothing options. So I downloaded Hedge Style to sort of like get that smoothing and the little line work. Because since Adventure Time is made to be animated, you have all these very nice, smooth lines. And meanwhile, I mean, if you saw my style, it's very sketchy. I mostly based her off of Marceline, just because the vampire aesthetic calls to me. And she's edgy, so there she is. We love her. Next up was Invader Zim, which actually I didn't... So a lot of people grew up with Invader Zim, and then, you know, they were really happy when it came back or whatever for the movie for Netflix. But I actually never saw Invader Zim growing up, and a few years ago I was with a really close friend of mine, and he was like, oh man, I love Invader Zim, I miss Invader Zim, it was such a fun show. And I thought, you know what? Why don't we watch all of Invader Zim? And he said, okay. So I watched all of Invader Zim, and then right after I like finished watching it, that's when they had the whole announcement of like, we're coming to Netflix, and I thought, no way. And then I saw a little Netflix movie, and it was amazing. You can see again that I'm like struggling to imitate the art style. Jonan Vasquez, yeah, you can see that I like, obviously the TV show art style is like much more structured to be animated, whereas his art style is like kind of like grainier, edgier. Before this, he made like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, which I haven't read or anything, but a lot of my friends like it. And by a lot, I mean one. I mean Jordan. But she said it was good, so I don't know. But you can see that I'm like going through the color palette here, since Invader Zim is a slightly grittier show. I mean, it has a lot of weird gross out scenes, and I just thought, you know, it would be way more fitting for her to have very, very dull color palette and then like one thing stand out. And the one thing I kind of wanted to stand out was the collar. Oh yeah, and then I forgot. I made her lighter. Oh, the next one is Ed and Eddie. So I actually watched a ton of Ed and Eddie growing up, and I thought it was bizarre, and when I first saw it, I thought it was gross and bad, and I actually avoided Ed and Eddie. And then as I got a little bit older and I went into like the teenage years, I thought, no, this is genius. So I revisited Ed and Eddie, I based it off the sisters, and then I thought, you know, Ed and Eddie, I'm pretty sure it was made in Flash, because how else would they get the wiggly lines? So I literally opened up Adobe Animate, which is basically Flash, and I started drawing her in there. So I got all the weird, like, variety in line width and stuff that kind of fits the show. So she looks a little crazy. And then for her colors, I actually tried to make her a little bit of like an eyesore character, because I was going over the Ed and Eddie characters, and from what I remember, I mean, I'd have to visit again, but all of like the darker hairs are just like blue or purple or like some weird darker color. So I thought, you know what, we're gonna do that. So I made her hair, instead of black, I made it blue, and I gave her all these weird little colors, and then the tongue is blue. Oh my god, I remember the tongue being such a weird part of that show, because they would like eat the massive white gumballs or whatever, and their tongues would be like the size of their bodies. I don't know, it's just something that really stuck with me from that show. And then next up is The Amazing World of Gumball, which, quick disclaimer, I started drawing a Furby because I thought, oh, she would be a Furby, and then I realized, oh wait, there's already like a Furby-based character in The Amazing World of Gumball, I can't do that. And then I started drawing again like a little angry teddy bear, because I was like, okay, well maybe she would be based off like the bear in the Fall Out Boy album, because it's like kind of edgy, but it's still a bear, and that was just a thing in like that emo era, whatever. And then as I'm drawing the bear, I realized there's already a bear character in The Amazing World of Gumball, but it was too far. So I just stuck with the bear. I made her like a weird little teddy bear, and she has that head shape that took me way too long to draw. And she's like weirdly stitched up because she's edgy, and she has a stitched on heart. I don't know, I thought it was very fitting. Then on to Rick and Morty. I actually really like Rick and Morty, maybe too much. I might like Rick and Morty too much. Which... it might be the equivalent of liking South Park too much. Like, it's not something I would ever tell anyone, and I'm very ashamed that I like Rick and Morty, but I really enjoy the show, so I went on in there. First, like, the sketch, her face was based off of Morty, but then I was like, no, she might have, what is it, Tammy's face? Like, just one of the other female characters, and then I thought, no, she doesn't look enough like she's from Rick and Morty, so I went back to the Morty face. The nose, okay. I took so many tries to get this nose right, and I kept, like, reconsidering. I gave up. She has to stay with whatever nose I gave her, because I just couldn't draw it right. But yeah, and then for Rick and Morty, I mean, I just feel like she's a little too eclectic. I don't know what you call it. Anywho, I also gave her the little wobbly eye shape, because Rick and Morty's known for that, which is also a very fun thing to do with your characters. I kind of started doing it in my own art style. So it kind of resembles a circle, but just kind of scratchy. But, I mean, not the best one, but definitely in there. So the Furby I actually saved for the next art style, which was Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. I love this growing up. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends was always sort of done, I believe, in Flash or an equivalent. So they had to do like all this vector art with very little lines. So if I remember, like, most of the characters are like vector shapes, and then on the inside of the shape is where the outline is. So that's kind of what I did with the Furbies. Like, I just started getting in those like lineless art style vector stuff in there, and then went a little crazy with the lines. But basically, she's based on, like, a kid who was too poor to, like, afford a bunch of toys, or, like, was saving money, or just very money conscious. So she's like, instead I will imagine my Furby. And then she imagines the Furby, which is this. And then as she grows older, she's like, I'm bored. I'm a teenager now. I don't want a Furby. And then she gives it up to Foster's Home. But my theory is that when she reaches her 20s, she, like, revisits Foster's Home and readopts the Furby. Anyway, too much lore for a Furby. Oh my god, the next art style was probably the hardest one. It's the Gorillaz art style. Let me look up... Hold on. I need to know the artist. Here we go. So the artist for Gorillaz is Jamie Hewlett. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm so sorry if I'm not. But his art is gorgeous. It's outstanding. It's like a goal of mine to have a grasp that fucking amazing on art. So it's very hard to mimic his art style because Gorillaz was not just... Most of these were made for like TV shows, so they had to go through several people. They probably had massive reference sheets and what have you. But Gorillaz was not made to be a continuous TV show, so the budget for that was much bigger for like a smaller video. All I'm saying is, Jamie Hewlett did an amazing job. They just slapped him on there, and they said, hey, you have amazing art, let's get these original character designs. And then I can't credit each and every animator that has ever worked with Gorillaz or for Gorillaz. But man, Jamie Hewlett's art is so hard to replicate because he's so good and talented. Like you can see, I struggled with so much. I struggled with the hand, I struggled with the tongue, I struggled with the nose. It's just such like a beautiful and outstanding art style. I did not do it justice, but I so love Gorillaz. So on to the next bit. The next one was... Oh, the next one is Over the Garden Wall. I probably rewatch Over the Garden Wall every year on Halloween, just because it's such an iconic little short for Halloween. So I thought, I started drawing, and I was like, you know, since Over the Garden Wall takes place in a universe in which, like, it's Halloween, she would probably be dressed up as, like, a little devil that's also, like, a server or, like, a waitress of some sort. Like, I imagine she got off, like, her job as just, like, a server at, I don't know, McDonald's or Wendy's or something, and then she goes, I'm gonna go on Halloween, and she puts on her little, like, devil costume right on top of, like, the Wendy's uniform. I don't know, it was just really fun. I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite, holidays? Times off? I don't know. But I figured she would just be in, like, the little devil uniform, also server uniform, and she wouldn't intend to be a devil server, but when people call her that, she would play along with it kind of thing, where she's like, yes, that's totally what I meant to do. But it's not. This is probably one of my favorite ones, just because I really like Over the Garden Wall. But you can see I kind of struggled with the eyes a bit, because I didn't know how close or far apart they should be. Because at some point, I put them like so close together that it didn't look like Over the Garden Wall. And it started coming together a little bit more when the colors came into place. Because Over the Garden Wall has that thing where, like, there are certain lines that aren't shaded. I don't know, I just really love this one. It just made me happy. It brought me a lot more fun. Then the final art style, I didn't even do a sketch for because I had no idea how to go about it. I just went right into it, no sketch. And that would be Kids Next Door, which was a huge inspiration for me growing up. Well, not inspiration artistically, like I never did Kids Next Door fan art or anything. But I just watched a lot of it, and I don't remember a lot of it. I'm probably going to rewatch it soon. Because I just remember, all I remember is an episode in which they have like the little monkey dolls, and number 3 is like obsessed with them. And I just remember I used to watch, when I was like 10, I used to watch so many AMVs of like Blink 182 like music set to number 4 and number 3 dating or something like that. It was really iconic from my childhood. So, and then the color palette's also way more vibrant, and there she is. I mean, yeah, there was no sketch, so she was just like straight to it. But that was my little journey through all the art styles. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, help me figure out what I'm doing. But yeah, I actually had a lot of fun with this. It got me through my burnout from school, and after this, I did a little bit better in school. Just because it got me away from, like, my usual type of college work. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. I don't know how to end the video.